Hello YouTube, I'm JT the Green Engineer, and I wanted to do a quick video and kind of give you an update as far as what kinds of things I'm facing at this point and where I'm going with the box truck project. Right here is the box truck, and then one of the first things that I need to address is the exterior door here, the side door. You'll notice that this has a lock on it, and it's a bar lock that actually goes, it operates from this handle, but this bar goes almost the entire distance of the door, and it's got this lip that comes out, and basically when you close it, it locks against the lip on the door jamb. Okay, so here, let me go ahead and pull the lock off for you here real quick, and I'll kind of show you how this operates. This is good in that, you know, it locks with this padlock here, which is great from the outside, but the problem that I'm facing is that I cannot operate this from the inside. So let me go ahead and show you how this works. Flip this up, that lifts, and it opens. You'll see this rotate, opens, and it actually pushes the door out a little bit, and then you can actually pull this, and then the door opens up. Well, on this side of it, and you're probably not, I know I'm out of frame, so I'm going to have to set up another shot for you, but I'll show you the inside of the door now that it's open, and then you can see, I guess a little bit better what the issue is. So let me cut the clip, and we'll go to the next one. Okay, real quick, you see this is the inside of the door. See that's the actual door now that's open. But this is all we really have on the inside of the door. You'll see there's no other way to operate this. And essentially this little bar on the inside just penetrates through the door to the opposite side. And there's just a bolt on the back side of where this latches in. So it really doesn't do anything as it is right now to help. So what I have to do is I have to create a way, or a way to operate this door both from the outside and the inside. And I've got a couple ideas. I think I might use an RV door latch. I say I think because I've already purchased it. I just have to modify it. I have to modify the bejesus out of pretty much everything that we're going to be doing here, because like I said, these were not made for 4-inch thick doors, which this box truck has 4 inches, of insulation. So it's very, very thick. Let me go ahead and cut the shot here, and I'll show you what we've got on the inside, on as far as the hardware, and kind of show you what it is what the plan is. Okay? Okay, real quick, let me go ahead and show you what it is that I'm planning on using here. I went ahead and bought some hardware for the box truck itself. Let me go ahead and pull this down. As you can see here, I'll try to put that in the right direction for you. As you can see here, this is a standard RV latch. It has a locking latch, and I don't know if you can see that, but the latch operates a little wedge in here. It locks, and it also has a locking deadbolt, which I can't actually show you that because the little lever is on the inside, but it operates here. Let me go ahead and kind of slap this together for you, like that. And I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll try to set up the shot a little bit better for you. But as I operate this, there's this teeny tiny little deadbolt. It's very wimpy, a very wimpy deadbolt, but it does have one in it. This is not, in my opinion, going to be sufficient, so that I do actually have a different setup that I want to use for this, in conjunction with it actually, and that is this here, and this is a Brinks digital deadbolt is what this is. I'll give you a little bit a close-up view of this here momentarily, but I will be putting this on also, and kind of show you a little bit as far as what we're going to have to do as far as the modifications. Now, understand one thing, if you can look, and like I said, I'll give you a close-up of this here in a minute. If you look, the distance between the two pieces as it's sandwiched together, this is how it's supposed to be when it's assembled with this door latch, this RV latch. The distance between the two plates is actually very, very thin. And quite frankly, this is a 4-inch thick door. So what we're going to have to do, try to pull that out. We're going to have to extend it out so far or so. I try to move that over here against my black shirt. And in order to do that, we're going to have to make a modification in order to extend it out so it still operates. Let me go ahead and set up the shot, and I'll give you a closer look at these. Okay, let me go ahead and show this to you. This is the deadbolt, or the latch. I'll try to put this in focus here. This is the actual latch, and as you can see, when I operate, the lever, that pulls the wedge in and out. Now, if I flip this over and operate it from the back, you can actually see how the mechanism works a little bit better. This right here is you can see when I pull on that, it operates the ledge. Well, when I pull on the lever, you see how it moves it in and out. Now I'm going to try to pull this in and leave it sucked in here. Try to rotate this in a way that you can see it. But if you look right inside there, you'll actually see that there's a little lever that moves back and forth. Okay, and it moves this block here, which is of course attached. It's the same. This block is the wedge block. Okay, let me show you the inside so you can actually see how this fits together. This is the inside latch. Okay, the lock, you can see the little lock thing. This operates the deadbolt. But if I flip this around, you can actually see. Well, let's see. Go like this. Let's see, maybe like that. You can see that as I operate the latch, there's this little 90-degree, wedge, I guess you'd call it, or extension that moves back and forth. Well, as you can see clearly, maybe like this. Yeah, try to get that. So I'm sorry, my viewfinder's upside down, so I'm having a hard time getting oriented. Okay, so as you can see, when I move that, it just moves the little latch here, or the little wedge here, backward and forward, and it's set at 90 degrees. Okay, so what that does essentially, see if I can slap this together for you. Try to line this back up. See the little cylinder bit here, with the flat end actually fits inside the little latch for the deadbolt. But okay, now I don't know if you can kind of see that, how the little wedge piece is actually going into the little hole right here. Okay, and when we put that in and we operate it, it's moving just like the other side. It's moving this in and out. Okay, so here's the problem essentially. When this is put together, it's great, but you see the distance here is maybe 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, something like that. So not really, going to work as it is for the door, given the door is 4 inches thick. So what I'm going to end up having to do is put it out, about so far in order to get it to work, which means this is going to need to be extended, and we're going to have to figure out a way to still operate this at a wider distance. Extending this out straight out is not going to. I mean, it's possible that it might work, but you're also looking at a much longer arc for the same amount of movement here. So yeah, it'll work, but it just, that's kind of the thing that I'm concerned about is the laws of leverage here. We're essentially going to be multiplying the amount of pressure with however I've got this mounted on this little piece here. And we're also looking at kind of a difficult situation in that this is enclosed. This box is cut straight through. So installing a screw on the inside is going to be very, very problematic, if not impossible. So I'm going to have to figure out another way to make this modification to make it work. And then there's also the added issues of installing this on the outside, because the door itself, and I'll set up another shot to show you, but the door itself is stair-stepped, okay, all the way in, meaning that there's multiple levels. You'll have a better understanding here in a minute after I show it to you. So, where to locate, especially this piece here, the exterior piece, where to locate it on the door is going to become, an issue. We're going to have to take quite a few measurements to figure out exactly where it needs to go and how to overcome the stair stepping of the door. Let me go ahead and set up that shot so you have a better understanding of what kind of issues I'm facing there. Okay, so with the door open now, and I'm going to try to do it this way so I can try to keep it in focus. You can actually see that right down through here we've got different levels, if you will, different thicknesses. I don't know if I can open this up and keep it in frame here, but what you're also noticing is that, like as an example, this portion right here, try to put that back, this portion right here actually sticks out further, and then it steps down, and then this one is further in, and then it steps down again, and then this is the interior portion that's stair stepped a little bit further in yet. So as I put the latch on, it's going to have to come out far enough so that the wedge can actually hit the door jamb. Okay, so let me show you the door jamb real quick. Okay, as you can see, like right here, this is the door jamb that we're probably going to be looking at as far as like the outermost section that we're probably going to end up having to get into. You can see that it is very flat, which is nice. It is not stair-stepped all the way through. It's flat all the way across the top and around the sides and everything else. But this is what we're going to be. This is actually what we're going to be looking at. I'm sorry, my hands are out of frame here. I'm trying to do this from behind the camera. It's kind of funny because I'm like stretching. But this right here is what we're talking about. Okay. All we're essentially going to have to do is basically just cut a hole, in here for the wedge to fit in. Now whereabouts that's going to end up having to be is, a little difficult. Now this white piece, I guess, does have kind of an angle to it. So while this piece is flush, the next piece here, I guess, does have kind of a stair step to it, and I can't even really tell what's behind this. This is a very hard plastic. It's not like the weather stripping that's very flexible and whatnot. This is hard plastic. So I may end up having, like I said, to cut a piece. I might actually have to get into this a little bit in order to make this work. But again, these are the issues that I'm kind of facing as far as where I'm going to place it and where I have to cut the hole on the door. Okay, so let's set up the next shot, and we'll talk about different measurements and what I need. All right, so what I've done is I've gone through it. I've marked out after taking a lot of measurements and double checking those measurements about 150,000 times. Now I guess all that's left to do is cross my fingers and start cutting. But what I did is I measured all the dimensions on this this RV latch to try to get an idea of where it's got to be. And apparently there's a recess on the back side, and that's what needs to be cut out, which I have actually marked here. So we should be looking at something like that when it's all said and done. I've placed it up on there. It looks right now. Like I said, I just got to cross my fingers and hope I didn't screw it up somehow. So let me reset up the shot, and then we'll start, cutting it out. I'm nervous. Can you tell? Always makes me nervous. All right. Hang on a sec. Okay, guys. Just a word on safety real quick. I am using a power tool. This is fiberglass, at least some of this is, or at the very least, I think maybe part of this is going to be aluminum. In any case, there's going to be stuff flying around. What I'm going to be using is what they call a multi-tool. It vibrates and the blade will actually start to cut through, but this is probably the best tool to use for this application. But again, back to safety. Make sure you put on your safety glasses when you're going to do stuff like this. Personal protective equipment, your PPE is very important. As somebody who's been, I've worked in factories and maintenance and engineering for a very long time, and I've seen some really bad accidents when you're using, especially power tools and stuff like that. Always take your safety seriously. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I've got it marked out, and let's go ahead and start cutting, I guess. Okay guys, so after a fairly arduous task and an angle grinder later, I actually switched out to the angle grinder for depth. What I kind of found out is this sheeting on the outside underneath it, it looks like it's more or less solid aluminum. Not solid, but a fairly thick aluminum plate. All that's left now, so it made it kind of difficult to actually get through as far as depth, so I broke out the angle grinder with a cutting wheel on it, and basically got the depth, and then I went back to my multi-tool to cut out the corners, which this isn't real pretty, but that's okay. If we have to, you know, the nice thing is there's going to be an overhang on the lip anyway that will cover most of this. It should come up clear to the edge of this black weather stripping here. So all that's left is to pull this plate out. I'm not sure how well this is going to work because there was a rivet there. I had to cut the head of the rivet off, but let's see if we're through. It looks like we're through, and there we go. Quite a bit of foam has come out with it, and you're seeing it for the first time. I just pulled that out the rest of the way. I don't know if you could hear it cracking, but what I can also see in here is looks like where the lip actually happens, that indentation that I was talking about before. So it looks like the next step is to measure down to see how far down I need to make my cut and start cutting in this direction. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've got it kind of fit in here right now, which is basically I just got the hole cut out. But the important thing is that the wedge is actually compressing the way it should be up against the door, or the door jamb when this is shut. That tells me I'm in the right ballpark. Okay, this is definitely a tedious process. It's going to be a lot of wiggling around and adjusting, you know, to make sure that everything is aligned and fit right. And make no mistake, you know, I was very surprised at how difficult it was to actually cut this opening out through this door. It was more difficult than I thought it would be, actually. Didn't expect, like I said, there was a good thick chunk of aluminum right behind this, and the stair-stepped portion was difficult to even get to because of this bar that's in the way that I couldn't, you know, this locking bar I couldn't even take off. I was too afraid of stripping these rusted bolts out and not being able to put it back in. And on top of it, I'm not exactly sure how this is attached on the inside. So I wanted to make sure that this could at least stay on, because again, my point, you know, what I was wanting to do is make sure that this stays on. This isn't real pretty. I'm shooting this in HD, so hopefully you can actually see that. It's not real pretty. I cut the size over, I cut the hole oversized, and I did that so that I would have enough room to wiggle around. My plan has always been to put a faceplate kind of around that anyway, because I'm going to have to make it flush. What you can't see is this little lip right here actually sticks up about 1.5 mils, maybe 2 millimeters. So with that, I'm going to have to do something anyway to make it flush. So I had planned on putting some kind of a plate on there anyhow. So I'm not too worried about the size of the hole being oversized. I'm going to refill it when it's all said and done. I'm going to fill it with foam insulation anyway, all around the inside, to re-insulate it anyhow. So, and I haven't even started on the modifications for it. I just want to have an idea of where it's going to be so that I have a good frame of reference for pretty much everything else that I'm going to do. I've got a little wiggle room in here. I don't have much. Where it's protruding through the side, try to open that up and kind of show you. Hopefully this thing doesn't fall out. Let's try to move this over, and I'm not sure if that's in focus or not, or even if you can see it. Let me set up the shot a little bit better so you can kind of get a look and see what it is that I'm talking about. Hang on just a minute. Okay guys, I know I'm clean out of the shot here. What I've tried to do is set up the camera with the tripod so you can get kind of a look. If I go any closer than that with the tripod, you're going to be looking up at the sky quite a bit. It's going to be really difficult to see what's happening there. But as you can see, let me go ahead and pull this out. There's the hole that I had to cut. And hopefully from this angle, let me have a look at the viewfinder here. Hopefully at this angle you can actually kind of see the stair step that I was talking about through here, which is, like I said, made it kind of difficult. And you can actually see that there's several pieces of aluminum that goes through there. It's not near as thick as the piece that was on the outside toward the outside of the door that I had to cut through earlier, but it's still, you know, made it a little bit difficult. That particular location, because of the way it is, and this great big bar that's in the way, made it a little bit difficult to get a cutting tool in there. You can see that even, you know, just trying to cut that out and getting the proper depth, I ended up cutting into other portions of the door, which I will end up having to repair later on, which is okay. You know, a little putty will take care of that. Silicone will handle the sealing. You know, I'm not too much worried about that part of it. Again, aesthetics, we can fix the aesthetics later on as necessary. The most important thing is functionality. But as I set this in here, one thing about this also, and I'll try to hold this up here because I know this part is at least in focus. Up here, you can actually see that, you know, I've got this protrusion that is sticking out, and there's only so much room in between here. So that was one of the measurements that I had to take in order to fit that in there, and it does fit in there quite nicely, and it fits up fairly snug. I mean, where it needs to be, I think. Like as I showed you a little bit ago in the last shot, it did actually sit in the door pretty well, and the door, the wedge retracted the way it was supposed to. So I think I've got my depth right. I think the measurements are pretty good. Now it's just a matter of doing the rest of it, and of course the other side is going to make over here. The only concern that I really have at this point is how far back the latch mechanism is, because it's actually really close to this edge here. So again, I may have to do something a bit more creative as far as how to operate that. And as I said, you know, this is spring loaded, so what I may end up doing is running, I don't know yet, I really don't know, but what I may end up doing is running a cable out this direction with a little pulley on the back that will allow me to run run it out this way and operate it with a little pull lever or something like that. The inside's not going to be as necessary as the outside. The deadbolt is going to be easy enough to do. All I'll have to do is locate that within the door and then drill a hole through, and I can attach the latch on the outside, or the inside rather, and that'll operate this no problem. I'm not exactly sure again how I'm going to do the overall modification, but one thing that I did know for certain is that the outer portion needed to go out here and be in a proper spot. So hopefully this is going to work, and we're going to be okay here. We'll be looking at the modifications to this portion and get an idea of what we need to do as far as the next steps. We got an awful lot done today. May not seem like it, but we actually did. There was a lot of measuring and remeasuring, and that needed to get done, and you know, just a lot of sweating bullets. You know, anytime you know, you do something like this, you're always a little bit nervous when you go to start cutting holes in anything, and you know, I cutting holes in my box truck, you know, so it made me a little nervous. But the good news is, you know, it looks like it's going to work out okay, and it's just a matter now of finishing up that, and you know, obviously figuring out the modification. What exactly do I want to do, and how do I want to control that from the inside? That's going to be, you know, a major thing, and I'm going to be hitting that hard tomorrow. What else do we have to do here real soon? You know, in upcoming videos, we're going to tackle the deadbolt, because there will be a modification to the deadbolt as well. But I really feel like that's going to be much simpler than this latch issue. The latch modification is hands down, I think, when it comes to the doors, is by far, you know, I think going to be the most difficult part, at least when it comes to you know, access control, that kind of thing. What else we have on the agenda? We have what I think a lot of you are probably waiting for is the solar setup. You know, I have already purchased most of my components that I need for the solar setup. I have 8 305 watt monocrystalline panels, 6 of which will be going on the roof of the box truck itself. It's about all I can fit up there, and I do have a pretty good idea for the remaining 2. I have an Intronics MPPT 75HV, which might be slightly undersized. On paper, it looks like it's going to be okay, specs wise, but I may end up later on getting another charge controller. But for now, I think that'll work out pretty well. And we'll be showing you all these components. I have a power jack, 10,000 watt continuous, 40,000 watt peak inverter. It's a pure sine wave inverter. It's way overkill, really big, but it really kind of depends on, you know, what your opinion is of power jack. Now, it seems to me that the general consensus across the board is power jacks they're cheap Chinese, you know, Chinese made inverters, but you know, the general consensus seems to be, you know, bank on about half. You know, so that's kind of what I did. I figure my consumption will be right around maybe, I wouldn't think any more than 5,000 watts. I think that's actually shooting pretty high. I mean, when I calculated my, you know, everyday usage, you know, at any peak point in time, you know, I figured around somewhere between, you know, 2 to 4 at most, you know. But again, things may change, and I like a little wiggle room, so I went way oversized on the inverter. And the truth is, I got a really good deal on that inverter. Actually, it costs less than a 4,000 watt inverter of you know, a name brand inverter. So I figure, you know, if it doesn't pan out, I'm not really out all that much. It still costed quite a bit, a substantial amount, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity, you know, given the price point. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. And if it turns out that it ends up being a junk buy, then you're going to know, and that'll be useful too. So with that, that's just a little information as far as what's coming up. So definitely stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. Come on over to iGreengineer.com. Visit us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter too. We do all that social media stuff. So with that being said, stay tuned for future videos. We'll finish up this latch. We'll do the deadbolt, and we'll get started on solar. So thanks a lot for watching. I'm JT the Green Engineer. We'll see you soon.